Welcome back to the InherAlchemist TV. In today's video, I'm going to be making a tribute to Kiki Jabbar via the tarot. So we're going to be doing a personality profile. I wanted to find a way to channel the feelings that I had about her passing. And the truth is that I'm new to the sector. I'm new to the show. So I haven't developed that emotional attachment to any of the cast members. So I don't have the same level of sentimentality that some of you guys may have. But I also can understand as an outsider the concept of womanhood, of death, of family, and things like that. So I wanted to find a way to honor Kiki and especially her children, you know, those who have become motherless all of a sudden. And I know when my mother passed, one thing there was a lack of information about herself person, about her internal disposition, what she might be feeling, what she might be going through, what she might have been holding on to. Now, as a rites of passage, when I passed through the various benchmarkers that my mother was going through, I found myself in some of the same situations that I judged her for. And I realized that in all the expectations that I had of her in my teenage arrogance, I wasn't half the woman she was. You know what I mean? Dealt with the hand that she was dealt with, right? So there was a great humbling. You know what I mean? I think youth brings a lot of brash arrogance to young people that you just understand later in life, right? But again, there was just a lot that I didn't understand. And when she passed, that's when all the secrets came out. All the family secrets came out. This about your mom, that about your mom. This is what she was doing. That's what she was doing. Oh, your mother loved you. Oh, your mother bragged on you. All these things that I didn't have any clue of. You know what I mean? And it kind of made me realize that my childhood was basically a me experience. Me, focusing on how I felt, not really relating to my environment as far as understanding what was going on around me, but being more centered on how I was feeling in the moment, right? So anyways, something in me wanted to leave, I don't know, a blueprint, right? In case her children should find themselves in need of a word, because I know that's what I needed. When your parent passes, you're looking for the clues. You want to know why, how, when, where, all of these things, right? And to that point, I do want to encourage all of us when we complete our bodies of work to think about our legacy and think about if my child should ever find themselves in need of a word, in need of a direction, a point of reference. Have I provided that? Does my body of work reflect who I am as a woman? Does it reflect what I want my legacy to be? If my child ever stumbled across my work, could they find comfort and solace in the things that I'm saying to them, right? Because you just never know, right? So I wanted to do a personality profile on Kiki. I can tell you that Kiki is still here. I don't make a practice of communicating with the dead. I don't, as far as like the ones that were living in my lifetime. Obviously, you know, I have a relationship, a spiritual relationship, right? But Kiki is still here. She's still here. My mom went through the same thing. She wasn't immediately transported to heaven and laid to rest. She actually went to school first. And I know this because I would have dreams about her. And in my dreams, she would be a student and she would have all these ashes on her and like all this soot. And I realized that the soot was probably from her being cremated. She would have a limped leg and she was just a student. You know what I mean? And I think that's when I really also grasped that concept of, you know, sometimes people are taken away before their life lessons are complete. And then they have to complete those lessons in the spiritual realm. You know what I mean? So anyways, that's my word. That's my intention. That's my focus. I know that death is one of those things that tends to divide people. It definitely did a number on my family. I'm sure it's doing a number on their family. Everyone's looking for someone to blame. And the bottom line is that everything that's living is dying. Everyone has a number. Who broke the story, who said what, who did this. Everybody's acting in good intention. I definitely don't think that Marcella Speaks, for example, had negative intentions in breaking the story. Um, that was Wanda and her social media family communicating with social media. Marcella got acknowledged by TMZ, her channel. TMZ broke the story of Kobe Bryant's death before his wife even knew. They got that information from a police radio scanner, right? Puff Daddy, his child's mother passed away, and now that he's under, investigation, they're talking about all the horrendous things, saying things like, oh, she had to eat a tampon, and things that as a child you never want to see or hear about your mother. But people are so sociopathic and disconnected that they don't care. You know what I mean? In any event, I think that it doesn't matter. Maybe everybody should just do their content, focus on their legacy, focus on their output and what they want to represent, and see how much smoother things go, right? Now, having said that, that's my little opener. Please like this video. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you have your notification bells on. Also, check me out on the Inner Alchemist at Etsy, where I protect and cleanse energy and help you to manifest a good life moving forward. And I do that through aromatherapy, healing herb medicine, and things like that, in a portable, everyday, practical way that you can contribute to your own development, right? So check me out there. So having said that, we're going to get started on this reading. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, open your mind, and resonate with the spirit of a woman. Put yourself down in the spirit of another woman. And that means removing yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, and just allowing the story to unfold for you, and find yourself in it as well. So the personality profiles are a little bit different from the tarot reading. Right now we're going to talk about the first position, which represents Kiki's attitude and her outlook on life, and what was pretty much dominating her thoughts, or her thought life, or things like that, right? We know that as human beings, we're three parts. We're the body, we're the soul, which is mind, will, and emotions, and we're the spirit, which is what God breathed into us, right? All right, so Kiki is actually coming in as the Hierophant. So this to me represents conformity. In addition to conformity, the Hierophant can represent institutions and the pressure to be pleasing in the eyes of those institutions. The Hierophant can also represent concealing of information and secrets. Now, Kiki does have several cards of secrecy and concealment. In this case, the Hierophant represents the concealment or distortion of the truth in order to protect someone in a higher rank or higher organization than her. But it's also saying that even though you had a good intention to protect, because of the way that you conceal things, it yields negative results from your good intentions, right? So right off the bat, I know that Kiki has some level of misunderstanding in the way that she operates or way that she moves, but her intention has always been to protect. She's never thought that she was better than anybody else. However, the idea that you need to protect someone kind of spiritually resonates with you being on a higher ground and even thinking that you could protect them, right? I think one of her life lessons was to learn that she was not the keeper of others, and it was not her job to be that person, right? But she did. She took that role with good intention, right? So Kiki was withholding something. She was withholding something, and she was withholding the truth out of good intentions because she wanted to protect someone, and the result was that it caused more harm than good, not only to her but to all involved. And the spiritual lesson was that information and knowledge should be made available to all people, and that you shouldn't hold people's secrets in order to protect them, right? So that's one of the things that she had to learn. Now, Kiki also struggled with the pressure to conform, and feeling stigmatized for various things that she was going through. She felt that she was never really free to be her true self. And oftentimes she felt like she was persecuted when she chose not to conform. I don't know if that led to certain pressures that she may have had, but in any event, that feeling led to some dark emotions. And again, I think those dark emotions had to do with the suppression of her natural self. Kiki came up in institutions that were very powerful. I don't know what her life path was, but it looks like she had, with the Hierophant, some run-ins with some powerful organizations. And Kiki actually had a divine order or some type of divine wisdom or some type of divine knowledge as part of her character as well. She received direct spiritual downloads within herself, but I think she abandoned herself in order to go into like a groupthink mentality, in order to be a part of like conforming to some type of institution or institutionalized standards or something, right? Her life lesson was in regards to the pressure not to conform, you know. Now, when you look at your life lessons or life purpose, you want to look to your north and south node. I'll use myself an example. I have an Aquarius south node and a Leo north node. So the Aquarius south nodes would say that in my past life, I sacrificed myself for the group. I was a joiner. You know what I mean? I involved myself. I participated and put myself on the back burner. As a Leo, my north node would be to take center stage and to take up a little more space, and to be a little narcissistic, if you will, right? And that's me looking at narcissism objectively and not with the abuse language that has been attached to it, but just in saying that it's time to be about yourself, right? So my life path is not to join. It's not to sacrifice myself, but it's to stand in my authority, my royalty, my humanitarianism, and my intellect, right? As a Leo North Node. So that's the direction. The South Node is where you came from. The North Node is where you're going to, right? You can find that in any of your astrology, right? Kiki probably had a South Node where it has something to do with conforming, right? Based on this Hierophant card. Kiki did have some type of authority, divine authority. And I don't know if that has anything to do with how she conducts herself in the world, but it looks like she was like some type of channel or some type of medium between the above and the below. You know what I mean? She was right there in that plane. I feel like sometimes Kiki did not want to follow traditions and conform and hold norms, but there was still a pressure to. There was a pressure to go with who had the most power. There was a pressure to go with what was the most popular. There was a pressure to go with the structure of the organization, as opposed to going in her own individual direction. And this is because she placed a lot of importance on approval in society and being approved. And I feel like there was a certain bondage attached to that for her. You know what I mean? So that's what she's coming in at. Now the next position is going to be her spiritual disposition or inclination, or her temperament, or again the spirit that God breathed into her, or even sometimes I think maybe what you're there to overcome, or your life lessons, or however you want to look at it. But she came in as the Four of Cups, and this is a person that is very introspective and that thinks a lot, but always finds themselves unsatisfied, or it seems like a lot of her internal reflections lead to her having a sense of wanting something more, something different from her environment or from her circumstances. And this could have been just that divine calling on her life as a seeker with that Hierophant card. My brother, he died at 26. I think I don't know how they look at it. It was an accident. It was an overdose, but it could have either been an accidental overdose or it could have been a suicide. We will never know, right? What I do know is that he changed. A couple weeks prior to his death, he changed completely. And I just always knew within myself that he made an agreement with God that he wanted to go. You know what I mean? He could not find his place in this life. He was not happy here. And life is for the living, those with a verve and a desire to live. But empathy requires you to understand that everybody does not have that will to live. Life is very, very, very harsh. Life is very harsh, right? The Four of Cups means that Kiki wanted more. And it's about being disappointed with her status quo, or being disappointed with the things that she's accomplished to date, right? Now, maybe there's some resolution in that, in her death, that she is being recognized, nationally, as far as like, Entertainment Weekly or news outlets, notoriety that she may not have gotten as a living person, right? A lot of us should be encouraged to give flowers while people are here, right? But at the same time, I think that notoriety is what she was destined for. And it just happened to have happened in her passing, right? There was like a calling for Kiki to reevaluate her path many times, and to think about what path she was taking versus what she really wanted. And I feel like she maybe couldn't reconcile these things. You know what I mean? It was like almost like she was being told many times, like, to close off from the outside world and spend more time on you. You know what I mean? On what is being told to you, or what your divine assignment or instruction was. But she struggled with finding her own purpose, or finding her own aim. And again, I think that's because of conformity and being a people pleaser. Did I turn on my music? It looks like she was a pleaser in terms of wanting to conform to others' expectations and things like that. And groupthink, like I said, going with the crowd. She spent a lot of time trying to figure out what her purpose was. And I feel like she was at this stage in her life right now where she was really just trying to understand herself. Now, the Four of Cups could lead to a depressive personality, or just even being reclusive. Now, whether or not she was that in real life, we can't say, or her living life, but it does seem like there was some type of purpose for her to go within and get some direct, like, spiritual downloads, because she had like a divine connection. She really did. But I think maybe she abandoned her individual spiritual path in order to conform with the pressures of the group or something like that. And I think that created a mild depression in her. That's what it's looking like to me. The Four of Cups makes you reevaluate your personal choices. And I don't know, maybe she felt herself having rejected God, or having rejected spirituality in some way, because the Four of Cups is about rejection, but your rejection is of a gift from the divine that maybe you chose not to go with because you wanted to have things like prestige or social standing and things like that, right? So that's what it is. Anyways, right now, or as Kiki was coming in at, there was a heavy sense of discontentment and withdrawal, and she disengaged from, I don't want to say society, but maybe from opportunities or new opportunities. There were some offers being made to her, and I feel like she was maybe falling back on them. Right now at this time, but I think there was like some dissonance there. Now, the third position is going to be the Seven of Swords, and this represents the emotional plane, or your emotions. Now, I feel that the emotions are the lower self, or the lowest part of man. It's not to suggest any penalty for having them. It's just to say that when you operate in them, it leads to the most instability, because they're fleeting, they change. But it's such a strong tug that a lot of people don't have. I don't know, they don't have the sense to just kind of let the moment pass, right? Anyways, her emotional plane is coming in as the Seven of Swords. And this represents, again, that spirit of deception or being evasive. But it also, to me, represents the type of evasiveness that comes from you having trust issues. You know what I mean? So I think that Kiki had a lot of trust issues, but there was also a lot of impulsiveness, right? And this could be just, even with the even with that Four of Cups we talked about, this could be emotional dysregulation. You know what I mean? Whether that be just within herself, previous trauma, or just the way her brain works. That even with ADHD, they have emotional dysregulation, right? So that can lead to things like impulsiveness or even deception, but obviously you have to stay focused on that. A lot of people do have good intentions. How it plays out, that's a whole nother thing, right? And what I will say is that Kiki is coming in as having good intentions in whatever way it played out in her life. She's not a nefarious person, right? She might be a runner. The Seven of Swords, he tries to run away. I'm a runner. I understand this. I know for a fact I'm going to be a runaway bride. But I also know for a fact that when my grandmother, who raised me, began her transitioning process through cancer, I ran from that too. I didn't want to see it. It was hard watching her go from cooking full-blown Thanksgiving dinners to not being able to have enough strength to brush her teeth because of lung cancer. And it was something that I just couldn't see, you know what I mean? And so I ran off with my boyfriend, and I was very distracted. And it wasn't until years later, because that happened when I was 19, but years later, when I was able to bring my pieces together, I realized that I was a runner, and I ran, right? And I ran. So the Seven of Swords, he's a runner. I'm just saying that, right? This is someone who I feel on an emotional level, she's not normal. She's not normal. She kind of rebels against the norm, but on a conscious level or her behavior wise, she's going with the norm. You know what I mean? There's a lot of dissonance in this personality, right? She always felt the need to do things her own way. That was her thing. But she also simultaneously had the societal pressure to conform and to please the powers that be. And I feel like a lot of that happened through her protecting their secrets. Like that was their way, her taking the fall, even if you want to put it that way. But that was her way of contributing to the demand of her to conform, right? It's crazy. This is crazy. Again, Seven of Swords also leads to impulsiveness, right? There's something that Kiki did that she wasn't proud of, or something that she had on her conscience that she wasn't very proud of, right? And maybe there was a betrayal. Maybe there was some deceptions. Now, you could say, okay, maybe somebody, feels bad about that, wants to apologize about that. I don't know, because I can't say. All I can say is that this is what was on her mind, right? At the time, maybe she had some type of disregard for consequences and was more focused on getting her way out of a situation. And it looks like a lot of her way maybe had to do with her getting some type of notoriety, or like I said, some type of prestige with that Hierophant card. And maybe she felt like she was doing things that she had to do to get there. Again, people pleasing, groupthink, being pressured by the tone of environments. But her real personality is somebody who wants to do things their own way. So again, carrying some feelings about deception, about betrayal. But again, I have to still double back and focus on that was not necessarily her intention, wasn't to be treacherous or wasn't to be deceptive. It was to protect what she thought she was getting involved in, right? Kiki inside, I feel that she just felt like she did not fit in, maybe, right? In the context of the show, which I don't think is her whole life. I don't feel like she fit in. I don't feel like she felt like she fit in some type of way. I feel like she felt different from the other women or other people. And like I said, if not in context of the show, just in general. And I feel like it led to a sensation of her being an outcast, with the Seven of Swords coming next to that Four of Cups. It's almost like you're an outcast, but you're also unavailable as well, emotionally unavailable. I struggled with that growing up. Mine's played out differently in friendships, where I felt like I had this like attitude like no one was there for me. But I also had to say, Okay, you have not been emotionally available yourself. I'm the type of friend everybody has to come to me, just because I give 100%, so I'm not always in a rush to give it. You know what I mean? But I can look back in hindsight and see places where I haven't made myself available, whether that was through flakiness or not participating in the quote unquote group chat. It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. It's like part of my astrology talks about not wanting to do what it takes to be popular, but drawing attention because of respect either way it goes. And I see that so much because it's like I could literally have groups and friend groups and large associations, but I don't like to do that type of work, right? And it can hinder you sometimes, right? It can hinder you. But I never felt it was because I didn't fit in per se. When I look at whether or not I'm going to fit in, I look at, okay, what's going to be the expectation of me? Am I going to have to keep up with people's phone calls? Am I going to have to be available? Am I going to have to join events? Am I going to have to? And if I know I can't commit to certain things in the long run based on what's going on, then I don't get involved because I know what I can give and what I can't. You know what I mean? It could be, that's just me putting it in practical terms for a person like me or a person like you who operates this way, right? In any event, with Kiki, it was a bit different. Kiki felt like an outcast because she felt like she was in situations where nobody was like her. You know what I mean? Or maybe they had a different hand of cards that they were dealt, right? And it shows with the Seven of Swords that a lot of her actions were also the results of her feeling like an outcast or like she didn't match somewhere, right? But at a certain point, I feel like Kiki embraced it and was like, hell, I'm an outsider. I'm just different. And I feel like she started to embrace maybe that originality and started to do things that she wanted to do without pleasing the group at some point, right? Or at least that's where she was headed with this Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is not as serious an energy as like a Five of Swords. The Five of Swords will have you strategizing and manipulating and calculating. The Seven of Swords is more like a person that is maybe like tells white lies or little fibs, or like I said, does things without intention to harm or be malicious. She's not malicious. She's not calculating either. You know what I mean? She's just impulsive, maybe a little immature by this Seven of Swords. And again, like I said, feeling like an outcast doesn't stop her from, being a little mischief maker, right? Kiki had she was playful deep inside, and there was a part of her that was attention seeking or that did little things to get attention, right? Yeah, in any event, with the Seven of Swords, there was something about her path that was like asking her to diverge from what is mainstream or what everybody else is doing and kind of just go her own way. And when you look spiritually at the reason why one might be outcast, it could be that it could be just simply because you have a greater calling on your life to go a different way, and you should embrace that, right? Now, moving forward to card 4, which is the past, we have the Six of Wands, and that's in reverse. Now, the Six of Wands can typically be a positive card in general, because it's positive when it's upright, and it doesn't change that much in reverse. The Six of Wands it's about advancement, it's about progress, it's about having something innovative or leading. So I don't know if Kiki had a project she was coming out with, but there was something that she may have been working on that was going to lead to some type of profit or some type of commercial gain, or I don't know if she was in e-commerce or if she was selling something. We're all selling things, e-commerce, business, and things like that. But when the Six of Wands comes in reverse, maybe she was experiencing some type of hiccups or delays. I feel like this reversal represents more so a challenge to her coming out with something that was supposed to yield some type of profit. So there was some like minor hiccups that she was going through or something with that. I feel like whatever she was coming out with, it was still portended or forecasted, should I say, to be a successful endeavor, but it was taking like longer than what she expected. And like I said, a lot of minor setbacks and things like that. With that 4 cups just above it, I could almost look at it as her being discouraged, or like I said, discontent with the progress of what she had going on, because it does look like some hiccups or something like that. Whatever it is, she was building something that was like creative, and that was actually going to advance her. It was something that was going to give her some type of like good reputation in her field. But like I said, I feel like these delays or something interrupted. Now, on a spiritual level, they could have been there to remind you that this is not the fulfillment that you're looking for either. Like I said, I would say that Kiki was looking for some type of fulfillment, but her fulfillment was in developing her spirituality and, like I said, going away from the crowd, or trying to, I don't know, maybe like forge her own path, and not as far as like, again, meeting up with societal standards, becoming successful, having a businesswoman, having a brand. No, that wasn't her calling or her path. It's not to say that she wasn't going to meet with those things on the path, but that wasn't the thing that was going to give her that fulfillment, if you will, right? All right, so moving forward, we have the present or the future, or what developed or what was coming, or however you want to look at that, right? Now, the Ace of Cups is in reverse, and this is a card about seeking glory, but for the wrong reasons. And I think that plays well into the Six of Wands in reverse with this creative endeavor or thing that she had. It was brilliant, it was creative, it was innovative, but her motivations in wanting to do this had more to do with her maybe trying to prove something to others or improve her societal standing, as opposed to it being for something that was like genuinely fulfilling to her, right? So what it does when you manifest things like that is that you will get what you want, but it won't be the fulfillment that you thought it would be, and then you'll end up looking for something else, right? A lot of us women struggle through that, and that's when we find ourselves adding on, layering accomplishments after accomplishments after accomplishments, and not really feeling satisfied with any of it. It's not that you're ungrateful, it's that you're accomplishing the wrong things, right? This is saying that those delays and hiccups that she had in this project that she was working on were because what Kiki was really yearning for was spiritual fulfillment, but she was trying to receive earthly fulfillment and approval, and so she was still going to be left feeling unfulfilled, right? So I feel like those delays were there spiritually to bring you into balance, right? We all want success. We want those canvas beauty viral moments. We want that, but more than that, we want adequate preparation for the life that we're stepping into, and that comes through the chastising of the Holy Spirit, that comes through the healing, the emotional reconciliation of your parts, bringing yourself into a whole so that you're even in a position to be equipped to handle the cup running over. And a lot of us are not ready to handle the cup running over, right? I've started so many businesses and failed so many times. Even when my mom passed, I was at the height of my real estate thing, just doing my thing, right? I was not on solid foundation, and one little thing tipped me so bad I lost it all for years and years to come, right? Like I tell you guys, money is not the reward, right? Love covers a multitude of sins, not money, right? Not money. So cultivate love, especially with this Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups represents not being healed when it's in reverse, not loving yourself, not nourishing yourself. Those are the reversal implications of the Ace of Cups, which traditionally is a cup about love, self-love, self-healing. Because if you love yourself, you'll heal yourself, right? And you'll dedicate that much to your self-care. You won't continue to put lipstick on the pig, right? But anyway, so it's saying that Kiki was chasing superficial things, or having superficial motivations, and we saw her struggle to conform, her struggle to be a part of the crowd, while being highly individualistic on the inside and having spiritual rank. Really, she had rank spiritually. Now I feel like she abandoned that in favor of going with the crowd. That's my personal thing based on the cards, but it's not for me to say, right? It's just me looking at the cards, right? But this Ace of Cups, it does talk about your heart not being in the right place, and with that kind of going parallel to her victory delays, I feel like that's the reason, right? She had this perception of love that was wrapped up in accomplishments and materialism. And from this card perspective, what that means is that she felt like she needed to provide something of value in order to qualify for love. And when she didn't have the actual product or item to provide a value, she provided things like protection, right? Protection and keeper of secrets. That was her currency, right? Anyways, this is another thing that just shows that even if you got where you wanted to go, even if the route that Kiki was taking, the decision she was making, the choices she was going through, those paths weren't going to work out for her, because she was turning away from her calling, right? And again, maybe her calling will be achieved in death as opposed to life. Maybe she will be more valuable in her passing and what that represents to people, as opposed to whatever this business endeavor that she had, right? Anyways, this also represents Kiki having some emotional dysregulation, right? With the Ace of Cups in reverse, this is a person who doesn't have boundaries on an emotional level and just readily doles out energy, mental and emotional energy, towards things that may not be worthy in all cases. And that leads to trouble, whether that's trouble in love, or trouble in life, materialism, but it has to do with the lack of discrimination, right? And lack of discrimination sometimes comes with a lack of self-worth. Sometimes it comes with a lack of spiritual, mental, and intellectual development. I don't believe that people intend to disrespect themselves or not love themselves or not value themselves. It's just that sometimes we don't know what that is. And the truth is that it looks different on everybody. You know, what feels devaluing to me may feel normal to someone else, and vice versa. Each woman has to cultivate her own standard, her own femininity, and what that means to her, right? In any event, this is saying that Kiki, if she had come to her spiritual development, she would have received more contentment. But Kiki wanted to be an entrepreneur. She wanted to be an entrepreneur. And again, that could have been pressure, like I said, to conform, to compete, to be a part of the crowd, because it wasn't the real her. And so even if she had been around this earth long enough to achieve that objective, it wouldn't have done the trick. It wouldn't have done it. Kiki was always, at least it seems to me, like Kiki was always searching. She was searching for something. All right. So now we're going to move to the roots, or that just reminded me of the word root chakra for some reason. Maybe because I did some, people, when they attack your reputation and your endeavors, they're putting attacks on your root chakra. Root chakra cleaning is something that a lot of people should invest in as well, especially those of you guys who are trying to generate things like generational wealth, business endeavors. Check your foundation. It's likely a crack in some of those foundations. And also check what your objective is. Is money the objective? Is being a boss the objective? Is being a leader the objective? What is your why? Is it strictly for profit and gain, or are there unexpressed parts of your personality that you want to channel through an entrepreneurial endeavor, right? Get right with your objectives, right? So in her root, she has the Knight of Wands, and it's in reverse. And this shows me that there was some insecurity on Kiki's part as far as being able to make decisions for herself, right? Or what was the best for herself. This to me makes perfect sense, because inside you have this spiritual inclination, this divine knowledge and wisdom, but on the outside you submit to societal expectations and group organizations. I don't know, was Kiki was she in a sorority or a fraternity? I've been seeing sorority and fraternity videos all over YouTube, people denouncing their sororities and all these things like that. I wanted to do a piece on it, just because I have a lot of thoughts about it. But with this institutionalization thing, I'm wondering what type of groups or what type of early groups that Kiki was growing up in that created so much dissonance for her, so much dissonance. So Kiki with this Knight of Wands would drag her feet when it came to making important decisions on how she wanted to play something. But again, her hesitation is not exactly unwarranted. It's just that she was involved in things that required risk, right? That she didn't know which way it was going to pan out. And again, thinking in her in the line of having good intentions, but also the inclination of being impulsive, to fib, to cover up for people, to protect people, all those things, all that stuff is going to mix up your mind. Just period, off the top. I can tell you that. Kiki struggled with second guessing herself. She second guessed her every move. And I feel like as a result, she caused herself unnecessary delays because she didn't take actions that she knew she was supposed to take because she was second guess herself. You know what I mean? Maybe she was second guessing the consequences or how she wanted to play things. I don't know. I just know that in her mind she was divided. What they say, the Bible say, a double-minded man is unstable in all their ways. That's the vibe that's the scripture that I would put on this reading, right? Now to end the personality profile out, also in her foundation, she has the Tower card. The Tower card can be about ego. It can be about falling from grace. It can be about hubris. It can be about catastrophes. We know that Kiki has passed, right? I don't know the details, but death seems to be peaceful. I spend a lot of time in cemeteries. I know that it's peaceful, right? Again, I think we need to control our emotions, especially when it comes to blame and guilt. I don't know why people in death have this impulse to just point fingers and blame. And it's like, it's not about that. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away as he sees fit, right? The Tower can be about ambitions that are based on your ego. And the Tower is about having this sudden burst of information dawning on you, right? Now, like I told you guys in previous readings, that the tarot implication is about the Tower of Babel and about building yourself high enough to usurp God, right? Whereas opposed to building yourself in order to be a temple for God, for others to come in, seek information, draw from you, etc. When you have the Tower, though, you lock it. You build the temple, you build the Tower up. The people who are in, they get in. It's like cult. It's cult reference, right? They get in, and then there's a cap. There's a ceiling. Now with towers, there's only usually one way in, one way out, unless you go out through the window, in which you're going to take a fall. But if you survive the fall, then you will be open to more downloads and information from the divine instead of the information that's locked in the tower where the divine can't communicate with because there's a lid on it, right? I know that's taking it a step further, but I say that to say the Tower is about taking the lid off and breaking you off of what has been confining you to allow for you to have direct communication with the divine. You have to keep your mind open, your ears open, your eyes open, as viewing yourself as a communication channel, as above, so below. And so when those channels, those messages are given to you from the divine, if you're in somebody else's tower, then you're closed off to any information besides what's already in there, right? And that's how you need to conduct yourself. You see, like when I come and I do my readings, I present schools of thought that may differ from the crowd, but that's because I'm not locked in the tower, right? Where I can only see and view things one way. Because that's not what God wants. He wants you to build your spiritual life, but keep the roof off of it so that he can consistently make downloads into your mind. But when you close your mind, you put the roof on it, you put the cap on it, and then your spiritual growth is done. And then you can only recycle energy that's already been captured inside of that tower, right? That's what that's about. As a result of this tower moment in Kiki's life, this is her experiencing an undermining of her sense of self and stability and her sense of security. But there is something that she learned, before she exited. There was something that she realized, and there was like a growth spurt. Now, did that growth spurt cause her to ascend? Maybe so. Maybe this tower represents mastery. Maybe it represents a job well done. You know what I mean? In any event, there was some spiritual growth that she had through this falling, you know what I mean? Through her material ambitions being thwarted or delayed, through her every avenue for success being chased down, having some type of blockage on it, right? At a point, there was some type of revelation, you know what I mean? Revelation. And maybe through that revelation, she made a decision that she wanted to go, right? The tower as a person this is a person that's capable, that's intelligent, and that's fully aware of what they're capable of. Very, very high intelligence. Hierophant in the tower, this is a person of high intelligence. However, this is also a person that has been cut down to profound lengths and allowed themselves to be belittled as a part of trying to conform to societal norms and to hold secrets for powers that be, right? The tower appears when there's a warning, right? A warning that your source is God, your source is the divine, right? And that you need to pair your ambitions with spiritual understanding and humility, right? Otherwise, you're going to lead to a crash on a down cycle, right? So that is Kiki's, personality profile, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, as a child who loses a mother, at some point you're going to find yourself on your parents' karmic path. And they're not going to be there to give you the answers that you need because they're gone. You know what I mean? So as a young woman without that mother, you're going to go through things like menopause, anxiety, things with your friend groups. You're going to go through birthing a child, things that come after and before that. Black women have fibroids, and you won't have that female comrade to help you with that. You know what I mean? And sometimes we're looking for information on YouTube about how to be, what to expect out of being a woman. And I feel like everything we do as women should be edifying. You know what I mean? You're leaving a spiritual blueprint for others to follow, right? So my word to Kiki's kids, if they should ever find themselves in need of a word, if you come across my video, just know that this is where your mother left off. And this is where you're going to pick up. And the things that stopped her will not stop you, because now you're inherited. You know what I mean? I became a matriarch at a young age. A lot of us are young matriarchs, right? To whom much is given, much is required. In any event, this is my way of expressing my understanding and empathy and love for Kiki as a young black woman who lost her life at 42. And this is my best way of giving back to that situation. Anyways, all eyes on Huntsville. What is your legacy? What is your content legacy? If your children should find themselves in need of a word, what will they find about you? What have you left them to find about others? What have you left other people's children to find about them? Because as a motherless child, I promise you one day you're going to go searching, right? Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and check me out on the InherAlchemist at Etsy. Someone told me that I was using the tarot to sell products, and the truth is that I'm using the tarot to heal, and my business is surrounding issues that I find in the shadows of the tarot. I'm a subconscious tarot reader, so you're not going to expect hearts and flowers and fantasies. You're going to go into the depths And then through my journey with discovering the subconscious mind through psychology, tarot, education, philosophy, all of the above, and then being given divine instructions on plant knowledge, oils, and alchemical fluids, I have developed the answer to a lot of the dilemmas that come up in the readings. And so, yeah, I'm going to offer things. I'm going to offer grief relief. I'm going to offer spiritual baths because they help. They just do. And it takes one to know one. You know what I mean? You got to be on a frequency to understand it. Yeah, grief is a thing, and it recalibrates your brain, and you have to recalibrate that shit back to normal with every setback, right? So check out my self-care, my real self-care, right? No more lotion and lipstick. We talking about the real work. Check me out on the Inner Alchemist at Etsy. Like this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. I'll probably give it a day or so to wind down before we get back into other cast readings and lightening things up. I just didn't think it was the right timing to do the other videos that I have lined up. So I've given my energy to the situation, and now I'll be moving on to the other readings very soon. So have a good holiday, and I'll see you guys on the next one.